It's going to be May. Happy first day of May. 2 minutes in the box with Gordo. The daily grind of news, rumors, and updates. Today, we're going to be talking about the recap of last night's games. Two teams advanced. Two teams either going to go to the golf course or Cancun or whatever. And the latest news, rumors, and updates. And let's get to the game, shall we? All right. No surprise here. Washington Capitals 4-1 over the Montreal Canadiens and a 4-1 gentleman's sweep. Yeah, let's go with this. All right. Ovi, Tom Wilson, Jacob Chekrin, and Brandon Duhaime all got the goals. And meanwhile, and Hyman got the only one for the Habs. It's no surprise. I got them in five, and I got five on it. It was an easy, predictable series. It wasn't going to be like 2010, where Montreal upsets Washington and then went to a unprecedented conference final run. But you know, Montreal, they were beat up in net, and also they've got a lot of young guys on their team. But you had several guys from that Cup final run from several years ago still on that roster. But Montreal's got a bright future ahead of itself. Don't have your head down for too long. But Montreal's got a very bright future ahead of itself. Washington, though, they are back in the second round for the first time in a while. And obviously, they got their second round opponent already. It's going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to be getting to that matchup. But, oh, yeah, that's right. I already got my prediction Carolina in six. And they'll be going to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, now, speaking of gentlemen's sweep, the Florida Panthers, second year in a row on the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-3. And what a game by E2 Listerainen. 4-point night. I mean, he was just invincible out there. He got a goal, three assists. Man, this dude was on fire. He was unreal. Anton Lundell, spectacular game. Carter Verhage, Sasha Barkov. I mean, just an unbelievable game. Bennett and Rhino, man, this team is ready to go for another cup run. Sergei Bobrovsky played out of his mind. He definitely played out of his mind. He was just spectacular. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, though, yeah, I got to give it to Jay Gensel. Gensel played well. Nikita Kucherov was a very big disappointment. Vasilevsky played all right, but let's gotta go right here. The Lightning are in an interesting situation right now. Reported yesterday that John Cooper, his name was brought up as a scenario of a coaching change. He is contemplating of taking a year off of coaching in the NHL and returning to Utah Hockey Club. It's going to be interesting. I would not be surprised this happens. I said it before. John Cooper is a great coach. He did everything he could in Tampa Bay. And I wouldn't be surprised that by 26, 27, he'll become the next Utah Hockey Club coach. I mean, I like Andre Tourigny. Bear is a very good coach. He's done great things for the Coyotes and Utah Hockey Club. I just don't think it's the right thing to do right now. I really think it's one of those things like, it's all talk, but I really think Tampa Bay is still got a very good team. They've got very good depth, and I see them contending again. I don't think it's the last we've seen from Tampa Bay. I believe they'll be back, and I know that it's going to be aging roster, but I still think they've still got a lot left in the tank. The Florida Panthers, they told all the haters to go F off. No surprise. Every critic and moron was putting Tampa Bay Lightning to win the series because the Panthers had been beat up for two consecutive Cup finals. I'll tell you, the Florida Panthers, oh yeah, they are going to make another deep run. I wouldn't be surprised they get to another Cup final and win. It's no surprise. And I'm just curious who's going to be their matchup. That's going to be a very curious matchup. Oh yeah, now let's get to the final game. Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues. Winnipeg Jets, they love their whiteouts and their home cooking. Another victory, 5-3. No surprise. And they're a game away of going to the second round, and the Blues are a game away of being eliminated. And game six is going to be on Friday. And it's the only game going to be on. And I wouldn't be surprised this one goes to seven because St. Louis is going to get some home cooking done there as well. I predicted yesterday Winnipeg was going to win, but St. Louis, they'll win game six at home. And Jim Montgomery might pull out a Paul Maurice, card. It's going to be like, okay, we're underdogs. We're the second wildcard team, and we're playing the number one team in the NHL. Can we pull off the impossible? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I would not be surprised that Jim Montgomery literally pulls the Paul Maurice card from 2 years ago that beating a team that had the all-time regular season record and beating them in the first round and going all the way to the Cup Finals. I wouldn't be surprised that the Blues do the same thing that the Florida Panthers did 2 years ago. But Winnipeg's dangerous at home. Don't forget, they are dangerous at home. The Blues are going to be regrouped. And Winnipeg doesn't have Mark Scheifele. Scheifele's not traveling with the team. I wouldn't be surprised that it will be a war between the Jets and the Blues. Oh, yeah. And I tell you, Kyle Connor looked good out there. He looked good out there. Nino Niederreiter, he looked spectacular out there. Nemestikov, Adam Lowry, they have a good team. The depth's there. They got the goaltending. Connor Hollowbeck stood his ground. But, he's struggled games 3 and 4, but he's a finalist for the MVP trophy race. And speaking of the MVP trophies, yeah, the Hart Trophy, the MVP of the NHL. This morning, we got Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, and Connor Hollowbeck. It's going to be a very interesting voting process, and I don't care who wins it. It's just an individual award. A team award is the most important award of all. That's how I see it. All right, now, let's get to tonight's game, shall we? And this is going to be the last night of 4 games until preseason. Enjoy the 4-game madness because this is the last one you're going to see until September. All right, you got several potential elimination scenarios. You got the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. The Leafs are 1-13 their last 14 games when it comes to elimination, and Ottawa's favorite at home. And I believe it's going to be and Ottawa really wants this dub, and Toronto's got to have redemption. They tried this last year. Toronto tried this last year, and they lost to Boston in 7 games still. It's embarrassing. That's a cursed franchise. And, I said it yesterday. They need a young priest, an old priest, some holy water, the Bible, the cross, you name it. It's just one of those things, I really think the Leafs are cursed. They got to get out of that lovable loser crap. The Cubs did it. They got out of it. They got the World Series. Now everybody's like resting in peace. But then everyone's going to be bitching about it again. It's one of those things. Ottawa, though, they got a lot of fight and determination. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a blood battle. I wouldn't be surprised that Ottawa wins tonight and Toronto somehow theatrically wins game 7. How ironic. And now we've got Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. Vegas is up 3-2 and they're in Minnesota. And Vegas is favorite, but I like to see Flower get one more dub. The curiosity is who's going to be in net for the Minnesota Wild? Philip Gustafson left the game the other day against the Vegas Golden Knights, and Flower took over in game 5 and they lost in overtime. I'm just curious who's going to be in net. If Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be in net, he's going to play like there's no tomorrow, and he's going to tie the series up. That's how I see it. But everybody else wants to see Vegas go on a deep run. I just think Vegas is not that inspired. I think they got a weak goaltending situation. I just think that Minnesota is going to have a deep, deep game tonight. And I believe they're going to stay alive. Like the Bee Gees would sing, no, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Sorry, my pitch is a little off, but yeah, I am going to believe Minnesota will get this dub. All right. So it's going to be a tied series, and we're going to see a game 7 possibly this Saturday. Okay. Now we've got the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. Stars, they're up 3-2 against Colorado. Colorado's on the verge of elimination. Avalanche are favorite at home. I would not be surprised this is going to go to Colorado's favor and this is going to go to 7. I wouldn't be surprised. Colorado, they've got the stars, they got the depth. So does Dallas. I believe it's going to be it's a balance, it's a balance. I got to go with Colorado tonight because it's going to be going to game 7. They want the theatrics, they want the suspense. And I believe that Nathan McKinnon's going to go off tonight. He's got 5 goals already in this series. And, and his teammate Jonathan Drouin, he's got 3 assists. This is going to be a very highly expected game. I believe Colorado ties the series, and it's going to come down to the crossroads. Who you choose, blue pill, red pill, Avalanche or Stars? Oh, yeah, this right here is a great Central Division rivalry. And lastly, we've got the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. The LA Kings, 3 in a row losses against the Oilers. The Oilers were down 2-0, and now they are on the verge of a 4th time consecutive of beating the LA Kings in the playoffs. And the Oilers are favored at home against the Kings. I believe LA is going to still survive, and this is going to go to 7. And I think it's going to be another overtime game. But if Jim Hiller, the coach of the Kings, screws this up again, I wouldn't be surprised. He is fired. Oh, yeah, he's going to be gone. And so maybe Rob Blake too. But the Kings are choking the series away again. The Oilers are playing possess. I mean, Evan Bouchard, their defenseman's their lead goal scorer so far in the series. McDavid's got 8 assists. And I think LA needs to use every single player out there to stay alive instead of going 75, 70%. You got to go all in. You got to go all in. That's why, the playoffs matter. All right. That's why the playoffs matter. And I'm going to go with the LA Kings tonight. So now, interesting stuff, I've been looking at. So Bowling Green in Ohio, they are, according to this from Barstool, a new era of college hockey in the first year of CHL players being allowed to be in the NCAA. So Bowling Green used to land a number 1 recruiting class in college hockey. So according to this, in the top 10, so you've got Bowling Green at 1, Boston University at 2, Harvard at 3, Merrimack 4, Maine at 5, Northeastern 6, St. Thomas 7, Miami of Ohio 8, Clarkson 9, Western Michigan at 10, and the others with the CHL numbers with New Hampshire, Penn State, Arizona State, Bemidji State, and Michigan Tech. Man, I would not be surprised in the next 5-10 years. I believe that NCAA hockey is going to be going from 64 to 80 teams. There are going to be 60 new programs, and I wouldn't be surprised that you get the Big Ten and some Southern schools involved. I mean, hey, hockey's booming and flourishing, and it's a very good sign. It's a very good sign indeed. And speaking of coaches, Rick Tocchet turned down $25 million from the Canucks. I would do the same thing because the Canucks are they're going to be rebuilding. They went from the number 1 team in the Western Conference last year to being a basement. It's a shit show in Vancouver. I would turn it down. Jimmy Rutherford, like I said yesterday, he tried to get a hold of Quinn Hughes, but he was at the Pistons Knicks game with Pat Brisson, and you know what that means. He wants to play with Luke and Jack in Jersey. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And speaking of major junior hockey, Gavin McKenna at it again. 53 consecutive games with a point. This dude is like, I'm glad that hockey's bringing out these new guys out there. I know Sidney Crosby and Ovi are getting older, I mean, and, McDavid's in his prime. So is McKinnon. But Gavin McKenna is going to be a superstar. You know, I'm just curious where he's going to go. Like I bet every team in the NHL next year is going to tank on purpose. They will tank. I wouldn't be surprised they will tank on purpose to get the next generational superstar in professional hockey. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And, and Gavin McKenna could be going to the University of Michigan and to develop his game. I really think Gavin McKenna is going to go to a very big TV market or maybe mid-size like Pittsburgh, for example. I wouldn't be surprised. And let's talk about and going back to college hockey. So the Philadelphia Flyers interviewed Pat Firstweiler, who is the coach of Western Michigan, just won the national championship, and he's a former teammate and roommate of Keith Jones. I mean, I don't know if that's a smart idea. I don't know if it's the right move to do. It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if it's the right choice for coaches. And listen to this fact about NHL coaches since 2022. There's only been three coaches recently to be with their team before 2022. You know who the three are? John Cooper, Rod Brindamore, and Jared Bernard. You got the Avalanche coach of Jared Bernard. You got John Cooper of the Lightning and Rod Brindamore of the Carolina Hurricanes. Three coaches since the year 2022. And then you had four teams hired their coaches in 2022. The Dallas Stars, the Florida Panthers, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Hired coaches in 2023. Calgary Flames, the Minnesota Wild, the Nashville Predators, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Washington Capitals. And the others hired their coaches in 2024. Winnipeg Jets, New Jersey Devils, Detroit Red Wings, the Boston Bruins, St. Louis Blues, the Chicago Blackhawks, LA Kings, San Jose Sharks, Buffalo Sabres, Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Islanders, the Ottawa Senators, Utah, and Toronto Maple Leafs. And recently hired new coach interim, Philadelphia Flyers. And coaching vacancies are the New York Rangers, the Anaheim Ducks, Seattle Kraken, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Vancouver Canucks. And the wildest thing is, here's the wildest stat that I saw is that average tenures of head coaches in the last several years. Major League Baseball managers last on an average of 4.3 years. The NBA coach is at 4.12. NFL coaches last 4.04. And the NHL at 2.3 years. It's like, there's a lot of pressure on these hockey coaches. I'm surprised to see this stat because, I thought basketball because with all the prima donnas and the crybabies and all that stuff, but hockey, there's a lot of pressure because they want turnaround quick, And I really think it's not healthy. I mean, let the coaches build what they start from. Let them fulfill their contract. If they don't fulfill through their whole entire contract, they're gone. Don't fire the middle of the contract. That's just a coward move. That's just a bunch of crap. Who the hell does that? I would personally keep my coach the entire way. And if he doesn't turn around within a 3 or 4 year span, they're out of there. That's how you do it. Don't fire the middle of the season. And the coaches are having a lot of pressure from the upper management to win right away. You can't win right away. You got to build a foundation to get there. You can't be like instant results. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You got to build the right way instead of going the wrong way. That's how you do it in sports. I mean, I cannot believe that 2.3 years for an NHL coach for their tenure. That is just nuts. I mean, who thought of this? This is like one of the wildest things to ever see in sports. I mean, goodness. 3 years for 4 years, mainly in the three sports of football, baseball, and basketball. Hockey? Man, 2 years. I mean, John Cooper's got 13 years of tenure, and he's going to be going to Utah soon. Rod Brindamore and Jared Bednar are going to be like, wow. Jared Bednar's been coach of the Avs for like 9 years, and Rod Brindamore since 2018. It's like, what the hell is going on? You know, it's just like, who are you gonna side with, the players or the coach? I would build if you have too many young guys or crybabies, they're gonna go with the crybabies instead of the coach who knows what the hell they're doing, what you're doing. I just think it's kind of sad to see what the hell's going on behind the scenes and seeing all this transpire. It's just a sad, sad, sad state of mind. And lastly, we have a retirement. David Savard, defenseman of the Montreal Canadiens, won a cup with Tampa Bay Lightning, played the majority of his career in Columbus, is officially retiring after 870 games in the NHL. And yeah, good luck to you in retirement, Dave. You're always a fierce fighter and competitor out there, and you got your cup and stuff. All right. So like I said, we got one game tomorrow, and Saturday there could be a possible game 7 of 4 games. And like I said earlier, there's 4 games tonight. That could be the last time we see 4 games until September or October. But for everyone's sake, we got the Kentucky Derby this Saturday. We got the Derby this Saturday. And we got 4 potential game 7s. And boy, oh boy, that is going to be a very busy, busy Saturday to see what happens right there, here, there, now. Honestly, I would love all 4 game 7s, but I believe there's going to be maybe about like 2 or 3 at least. I believe it's going to be 2 or 3 game 7s this Saturday. And as I said before, the Kentucky Derby. Hello, the Derby. Oh, yeah. And I don't know about horse racing, but, I'll give you my whatever picks tomorrow. So, yeah. This has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo, the daily grind news, rumors, and updates. We'll be back here tomorrow. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, etc. Have a great Thursday, everyone. And the flowers are blooming in May. It's gonna be May. Oh, yeah. Can't believe it's May. Wow.